And we're back with Season 2, Episode 14, The Last Roundup. This is the episode in which Applejack goes off to a rodeo, but then doesn't come back. For shame! And they have to go and find out what's happened with her, and they find out the end. That's this episode in a nutshell. What's a shame is I really want to like this episode. Like, I'm like... Just reach out, especially after we just had an awesome episode. In fact, we've actually had several awesome episodes. But it does. I don't like this episode. I'm going to share a short story with you guys. About, I don't know, 30 minutes ago, I had someone post a very insulting comment on YouTube with regards to being derogatory towards me and trying to do an analysis of My Little Pony. Basically, the gist of the comment was that the very idea of doing an analysis of My Little Pony itself is just, yeah, sure, whatever. I was actually specifically called a sophist, if you happen to know what that is. Now, I bring that up, not just because, you know, it's one of my ways of coping with assholes like that, but also because I feel like people who have a negative opinion... It's on Discord, Laura, I shared it there too. People who have a negative opinion of this show probably look at episodes like this and then immediately turn away. And I wouldn't blame them, because, like, imagine for a moment, if you will, imagine if this was the first and only episode of this show that you saw. Do you think you'd stick with it? Because there's nothing good here, to be completely blunt. Like, I mean, it's not bad. I have seen worse. But there's nothing to sink my teeth into, right? Like, there's nothing there. It's just, here's 20 minutes of random slapstick and Looney Tunes. With, like, a decent scene here and a decent scene there. And that's it. It's just, okay, it's another cartoon show. Or as some people like to incorrectly label it, okay, it's another kids show. It's another show targeted at young girls, is, I believe, the exact phrasing I usually hear there. So, yeah. So this is going to be a good contrast to, like, the massive, like, 35-minute one we just did. This is going to be a much shorter Streamination, because there's just not a lot to say here. So we start off with Derpy Hooves, or Muffin, as she is sometimes referred to. I don't know if the version I'm watching is the changed version or the original version. I know that the writer, Amy Keating-Rogers, didn't actually want to change this, that she actually received a fairly large amount of positive fan mail about Derpy in specific, but that the decision was made at Hasbro, and as we all know, Hasbro tends to be terrible and awful, so whatever. Anyways. But we do finally get to see Derpy actually have some screen time and actually have a voice. Not the last time we'll see it, but I believe this is the first time that she's actually been, you know, front stage, so to speak. And apparently she's very clumsy, probably because of the fact that she has a very bad sense of vision because of her eyes, which would make sense. Okay, so I'm guessing I saw the changed scene, though, because someone in chat was mentioning that they didn't mention her name, and the version I saw, they didn't mention her name, so I'm guessing this is the altered version. I'm watching the Amazon copies, for anybody who's not aware of that. Anyway, she's adorable. She is. However, she is also just as bad here as the rest of the episode. I've talked about this before, and I know some people don't understand this still, so I'm going to try really hard to explain this one more time. If I see an episode of Star Trek where Picard suddenly slips on a banana peel, and Riker rushes to help him, and then trips over a bucket, has to walk around with bucket leg, and is walking around for the rest of the episode with a bucket attached to his leg, that's not funny to me. The reason why is because I'm not watching Looney Tunes. My Little Pony is not Looney Tunes. You know? That is not the style or tone of this show. just like Star Trek is not Looney Tunes. It's jarring to me to see people randomly act basically out of character for the sake of extended slapstick. Slapstick has its place, don't mistake me, but that's not what I'm here for. I would watch Looney Tunes if I wanted to watch Looney Tunes. I can do that, you know? Now, so yeah, we have Derpy being Looney Tunesy. There's a nice, very, very nice bit of foreshadowing right at the beginning. It's one of the only good elements I'll give this episode. So when she does the Matrix dodge, because of course they have to have a Matrix reference, her hind hoof hits the fence, which would ding her on points. And when she throws the hay barrels or the haystacks, they don't all hit the line, or go over the line rather. Excuse me. So that would also ding her on points. In other words, she's good, but she's not the best, aka not blue ribbon material. Nice touch there. But then everyone just piles on the expectations onto her. You've got to win all the blue ribbons, and you've got to make all the money, and you've got to have lots of fun. You got to eat all this candy because Pinkie Pie is just the worst in this episode. By the way, can I just say that? Like, Pinkie Pie is a joke in this episode, which really irritates me. And yeah, they all pressure and pressure and pressure and pressure and pressure. And of course, Applejack feels that pressure because why wouldn't she? So Fluttershy, they're preparing the surprise party for her coming back. And okay, maybe saying Pinkie Pie is a joke character is an accurate statement. This episode portrays Pinkie Pie as if she is not a character. Is that a better way to phrase that? Does that get across my point better? She's not a character in this episode. She is a joke and nothing else. There's no person there. There's no personality there. There's no depth. And we've already had episodes that have developed Pinkie Pie as an individual, and we will have more in the future. And then every now and again, she is just this. Yeah. Anyways, I can't stand it when they do this. This show is not the only show that has that problem. Every now and again, a character is just exaggerated to the point of ridiculousness in a show, and it drives me batty. I don't know, Ethel. I mean, that is a good question. They should have gone to see her. So that's another problem this episode has, while we're having logical hiccups. So Pinkie Pie is a joke, and they're preparing for the... Pinkie Pie does one good thing in this whole episode, by the way. I'll cut to that in a second. They prepare the party. Fluttershy, of course, appreciates the difference between surprised and startled. Pinkie Pie then startles her twice in a row, despite the fact that she asked not to be startled. Pinkie Pie, the one who actually recognized that she shouldn't startle Fluttershy, because Fluttershy wouldn't get the joke and wouldn't be in on it, and that would be bad. This will also come up later, but no, she's a Flandernized character. She's stupid. She's a joke. So, moving on. Then the male pony comes along. This actually pisses me off. They are straight up rude. Not like Permeus. Permeus isn't rude. Like, Permeus is awesome. But they are just straight up rude to this poor pony who shows up. So first of all, it's their fault for not recognizing that it was not Applejack. And second of all, he's like, hey, thanks, this is my birthday. And they just shove him out and they glare at him like, oomph. That poor guy. Then Pinkie Pie gets out and gives him a bit of cake. That was nice. That's the one good thing she does in the entire episode, is she gives that poor male pony some cake because it's his frickin' birthday. God. Thank you, Permeus. Very, very much appreciated, sir. Thank you. If you happen to know where you want to put that, please let me know. You can't put it to Sexy Brutal anymore. We did that. So they get a note from Applejack, which says almost nothing. It's like 2 sentences. Which is the best possible way to make sure that people are more curious, not less. And sure enough, what happens is everyone freaks out and worries. And it's like, oh my god. We need to go take care of her and make sure she's okay. So they go do that, because of course they would. Lego ISD, you got it. I did too, Lieutenant Leroy. I felt so bad for that kid. So they go rush after her. And then they go do a montage as they're trying to find her. I'm surprised no one there actually recognized her. I mean, she had to have made some kind of a splash. There is one line, which is, again, nice foreshadowing. Rainbow Dash says, I would really hate to go back empty-handed after promising everyone we'd find her. So, you know, they find her. And we see Cherry Jubilee, who we'll see more of in the future, consequently. She's actually pretty neat. Never saw one pony winning that many ribbons. Nice little line tossed in there. And then the episode just kind of falls apart completely. So first of all, we have literal potty humor. And Pinkie Pie doesn't care at all about finding Applejack back. She just cares about snacks and treats. Because obviously she's not a character, right? It's not like Pinkie Pie cares about her friends and wouldn't be really worried when something's up with her friend. No, all she cares about is whether or not she has any peanuts. Oh, we're not at the Pinkie Promise yet. I'll get to that in a second. Then, they, let's see. Oh god, really, Baron? It's making me want to see the movie even less. Applejack gets more and more upset. And what happens in the scene... So she's on the treadmill. And she gets more and more upset. And she runs more and more and more fast. That's definitely not proper grammar. And what happens is Looney Tunes. Straight up Looney Tunes. I'm actually pretty sure I have literally seen the conveyor belt goes faster and faster, and people come up with stupid sight gags in order to deal with the problem joke in Looney Tunes. I think that's actually a thing. Please forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've seen that before. Like, then it gets to a point where Pinkie just starts putting the cherries on the hat, which makes no sense at all, and then eating them, and they freak out completely. And it's Looney Tunes, which then leads to them using Pinkie Pie as weaponized torture. This actually pisses me off. Now, I get the gag. But it's stupid. Because the whole point is that simply being in the presence of Pinkie Pie is so unpleasant that they'll do anything to make it stop. And that's the message you want to show? That's what you want to get across for this character? That's how you want her portrayed? So, they torture her into submission. Pinkie was worried about being annoying. That'll actually come up in the future, too. But no. Of course. So, Applejack deceives by telling the truth. Which is actually funny, because you'd think Applejack couldn't do that, since her shtick isn't telling the truth. Her shtick is being honest, which is different, but I don't want to get into that. And then Pinkie Pie gets really, really pissed off at her breaking the Pinkie Promise, which apparently is a legally binding thing, because when Applejack defends herself with it, she uses what is effectively a legal defense. She told the truth, she just deceived. Which Pinkie Pie is like, okay, and she just accepts that. And then knocks Rarity off of the thing, which, okay, that actually, calm out. Give me this. The one thing that made me chuckle in the whole episode. Also, of course, because this is Looney Tunes, we have to have a chase sequence. Even though Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie are all already shown to be faster than, you know, a horse-driven carriage. But no, we gotta have a car chase. You know how I know it's a car chase? Because it ends with them barely getting over the line for a frickin' train going by. Yeah, Twilight can also teleport. Mass teleport. She can also lift things a lot heavier than that carriage if she wanted to, from a greater distance. The only thing that I'm willing to give them is they go for the train thing. There's actually a trope for this. I can't think of what it's called. It's like the train escape, when you get by and, the train. And that's always irritated me in, you know, old action films. But at least usually that makes some sense. Like, trains can take minutes to go by, so sure. But here, if A, the trains aren't that long, but B, they just go right over it, because of course they do. So, after all this Looney Tunes nonsense, we finally get to the point of the episode. Shame. This is the part I do like, right here. I know that sounds strange to bring that up. God, you know what? I actually agree with that, Aethel. We'll call it the counter continuity. Counter continuity counter. I like the sound of that. And I don't know if any of there's going to be previous ones, but this definitely qualifies. This episode is definitely a counter continuity counter. Because that's just... I mean, again, this is not the only show that has that problem. To go back to Star Trek ignores its own continuity constantly. To the point of aggravation, not as often, but it certainly does so. I could name episodes, so let's not get into that thing. Let's talk about the end of the episode. Let's wrap this up. Shame! Every color's there from blue. I came in 4th, 3rd, even 2nd, but I didn't win one first prize. Can I just say that I completely understand how she feels here? I'm actually curious if any of you do. If there's ever been something where you failed, or you didn't do as well as you thought you would, or basically you let people down, and there's just this weight of, ugh, right? You don't even want to talk about it. Don't even want to bring it up. You just want to avoid it as, nah. I feel that. I know exactly what that feels like. My God. Yeah, that's not a fun sensation. Her actually trying to run away and get work in order to get them the money. Yeah. No, I'm completely with that. Sadly, I don't have much to say about that. It's just I really feel for Applejack. It's a shame the episode doesn't really take any time to really address the weight of that problem and spent its time slapsticking. Because there's a lot that you could really delve into that kind of a topic. One of the problems we tend to have is we tend to compare ourselves to the best. Have any of you ever done that? Or like what you wanted to happen? How many of you ever done something and said, oh, I sucked at it? And you didn't. You didn't actually suck at it. You just didn't do as well as the best people do at that. When it comes to running, or building something, or designing a level, or speed running, or maybe drawing or painting, maybe making some music. Oh, this is crap. No, it isn't. But you're not comparing yourself to anything. Well, I mean, let's rewind for a second. You probably shouldn't be comparing yourself in general, just looking at the quality of it in its own right. But what you are doing is comparing yourself to the people who are really good at it, which is what you want to be, because of course you do. It makes sense, right? It makes perfect sense. And actually, I'm with you on that, Loner. And those rare examples you do really well, the thought is, oh, well, I did it, so it can't be hard, right? Yeah, and that's just, as Baron points out, that's just on us. We don't have an entire town pushing us to be the best and bring back all this money and all these blue ribbons. So obviously, there's the whole pressure thing, which the episode just glosses over, by the way. But I do like the line, and I wrote it down word for word, there's no reason to hide when you don't do as well as you hoped. And now that's oversimplifying it, but again, it is a good lesson. It is something that we need to accept and acknowledge and grow and try to understand that, just because you didn't do the best doesn't mean it's just garbage and trog that should be thrown out the window, right? Hey, Steam Tears. I don't know. I feel like that is a good message in an otherwise completely unmemorable episode. Like, I've been speaking harshly of this episode. It's not that bad. There are worse. But it does end on a wah-wah. I think we can agree on that. About chimichurri-chongos, which actually, by the way, I would totally eat that. I'm just saying. That sounds good to me. Just me? Okay, that's cool. I actually don't have anything else to say about this episode. Like I said, kind of a short one. What, don't you want, like, fried cherries Like just picture a it's not pancakes, it's crepes. Picture like a cherry crepe that's been fried a little bit. Think about it. You wouldn't really? You wouldn't have that? It's confirmed. Ethel has terrible taste. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, no kidding, Dream Whisperer. That's a good point. If her friends had been like, "Oh my God, you didn't get first medals. What's wrong with you?" Then they wouldn't be her friends, would they? It's crepes, but it's fried. Anyways. I'm gonna go ahead and chop this off.